Friends, colleagues, listeners, here we are, and guess what time of the year it is? This is the last show of 2020. And Stephen, very good, son. You're looking good. Hey, nothing like getting the spirit of it. You're looking good, son.
Lovely to be here. My delivery of my outfit didn't arrive in time, unfortunately. So I've had to make do, as they say in the trade. I'm not quite sure what trade that is, but in my trade in this case.
It looks good, mate. The antlers go with my outfit. I always need a bit of help. The hat.
I'll pull your sleigh, Chris.
Hey,
don't you worry about that.
You can sit on my knee, Stephen. The hat and the mask, that could also be used because of some of the comments and the feedback. But I want to say, mate, it's been an absolute pleasure doing these sessions with you during the year. I know we weren't sure how long they'd go for or whether we'd continue them, but really, really appreciate it. Thanks so much.
It's been good fun, Chris. I was waiting for the Wizz Air hat. Of course, it didn't arrive in the post, and I'm sure you would have had a Wizz Air Santa hat. It would have been a great sort of little sort of way to finish off the season, but they never arrived. So look, there goes the fallacy that we were in cahoots with Wizz Air at any point during the year. Actually, we haven't, because if we had been, I'm sure Joe would have. Are you steaming up there, Chris?
I'm steaming up, mate. It's all. I'm steaming up because of the mask and the glasses, not because of emotion.
I thought you were steaming up. Yeah, it was the thought of me sitting on your knee.
Yeah. Well, I could. Yeah. That would have changed things. No, but you're right, Steve. But all the companies that we've mentioned, everybody that we've spoken about, I think this year it has been incredible. It's bloody terrible. I can't wait to see the back of it.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same, really. I think we're done now. We need just to move on. Move on in many ways. One to say goodbye to 2020, and you can bet your bottom dollar that I'll be saying goodbye in style, as I'm sure many of our colleagues and friends and family will. Chris, I think everybody's had their fill of 2020. So yeah, let's say goodbye 2020 in style and see it out. I think the second thing, though, is I'm actually looking forward to normal and talking about normal again, and not having to refer to things as new normal. I think that's really what I'm looking forward to mostly in 2021 as we go into the year with the vaccine, with a little bit of hope and encouragement in sight, and the opportunity for people to actually sort of take stock of what has been a terrible year, but actually see some of the opportunities that are present themselves in 2021 that they may not have thought they would have had access to. So that's certainly much what I'm looking forward to. You can tell that I'm oozing enthusiasm and ready to go for the new year.
Yeah, no, but we have to stay positive. Otherwise, all the shocks and surprises and disappointments and sadness, would have been for no good. But
there's a small problem with my moustache. For those on the video, if you've noticed, my moustache tends to drop down to the mug.
Yeah, it's very cleverly done, my friend. Unfortunately, I'm beginning to get a little bit warm in this. I don't know how the real man does it every year, but fair play to him. So he doesn't stop for anything. But Steve, just a little. Let's go.
We'd just be like it being in the subcontinent, Chris, in a cargo terminal with no air conditioning. Working your socks off at the height of the day. I mean, I've seen you in that environment, Chris, and it's a pleasant sight if ever there were one.
Yeah, no, oh my God, I got some memories of some cold places. I remember, Jesus, Boston. Oh my goodness me, Chicago. Been out there on the ramp, the warehouse there. My God Almighty, fair play to everybody who works in those conditions. But talking about airports, Steve, what do you think about the Heathrow winning that first little round of the big fight, the battle for the third runway? What do you think?
Look, I think that's I think it's fab. I think they've done the appeal was upheld. I think that's good news. I think the first commonsensical decision we've seen out of the courts in a long time. I'd lost a little bit of faith with the judiciary, if I was honest. In recent times, I won't bore you with the detail or why, but it seemed that the judiciary was starting to be stuffed with those very keen to sort of rid any sense of normality or history or pride that we had in this country. So when I say this country, I mean the UK. So I'm very pleased that common sense has prevailed. No doubt that there'll be still some more hoops to jump through. It still has to go through a parliamentary stage, I believe, and that could be difficult, given that the current Prime Minister, for as long as he is Prime Minister, not sure how long that will last into 2021 either. Tory leadership challenges, talk of that in the new year. Just to come out of COVID into another crisis, will throw the Tories into crisis. However, and they're never pretty. However, Boris Johnson did say at one stage that he would rather lay down in front of the bulldozers than allow Heathrow's third runway to be constructed. So I'm waiting to see Boris in front of that bulldozer, probably owned by Mr. or Sir John Bamford, his very good friend of JCB fame, that might well drive over him and flatten him and put him into the ground. In Heathrow. I
think the one thing we've seen now is how quickly politicians change their minds. So I don't think there'll be any standing by original statements or commitments. I think that's one thing 2020 has done. People can change their minds very, very quickly.
Well, yeah, as quickly as one can change their hat, I suspect.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Easily done, my friend. Easily done. Another good bit of news. News and a bit of ho, ho, ho. The Pharm.Aero, their original survey. Now they've done a follow-up, and it's good to see that people are a lot more confident. So you've got, 46% was the original feeling well prepared. 28%. 2 months later, it's 46%. So that's great news. And 79% feeling more prepared than 3 months ago. So I think the whole cargo handling community and industry has done incredible work in the last few months, which goes to show, as always, when their backs are against the wall, they come out and they really perform well.
Absolutely,
brilliant.
I think that's been the sort of outstanding trait of this whole disaster since March, Chris. Really, when COVID took hold, is nobody wanted, as to use your phrase, their backs to be up against the wall. But I think across the board, whether it be in retail or your local corner shop operators or the supermarkets or in our industry, people turning their hands to things that they had never considered doing before, and people being sort of forced into, uncomfortably forced into, rather than sort of coerced or encouraged, but uncomfortably forced into, having to change the way that they manage their business or do their business or conduct their business, or indeed upscale their business to be able to support all of this new kind of logistics requirements and health and safety requirements and COVID safe requirements, the investment into that. I've been pretty, that is probably one of the standard things that I've seen throughout the year, whether you are in Europe and the UK. It really is UK and Europe as of end of this month, isn't it? Transition is up. Really is UK and Europe. 1st of January. I mean, the UK did leave last year, but transitional this year. But 1st of January. I think the UK, Europe, Asia, Africa, down in the Americas, we've seen lots of good examples of people turning their hand to stuff that they've never done before. Whether it be in acquiring freighters or the Praetor, the new term that we got. We could have a new glossary, I think, Chris, of many of these terms that we've never seen before or never heard of before. There's a few good words for Dictionary Corner, I think, for Susie Dent on Countdown next year, that will make their way into the Oxford English, I suspect. Yeah,
I think, yeah. No, but you're right, Steve. There's so many things now that are changing the horizon for 2021. But please God, 2021 will be a lot more positive. Just to give a little bit of a shout out, three guys that we've spoken about who are starting new tasks for the year. So it's a little bit like a forward line for Liverpool or a Man United or a Brentford. They'd be pretty good signings in any team. So you've got Martin Drew with
Brentford makes the same sentence, Chris, as Man United, Liverpool, and Arsenal. Is that what I heard just now?
You did, my friend. You did, yeah. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how big or how small. It's effort and
it's what you do with it.
Sorry.
Indeed. It's what you do with it.
Exactly, mate. Exactly. But seriously, a nice centre forward lineup with people taking on new tasks for the new year. So you got Martin Drew with Etihad. You got Sebastian Schulte with Carles, and of course Willie Walsh with IATA. So I think the three of them, it's going to be an exciting year for them.
I think so. There's a few more. I mean, we spoke because there's quite a lot of change as well. We spoke about easyJet, Wizz, Welling, IAG. There's lots of movement. Sean Doyle, sorry, in his new gig at British Airways. I think there's lots of good stuff going on. Steve Jones over in the startup in Canada at Flair. I think there's a list of probably more than we can imagine, Chris. As we were saying last week, it's really encouraging to see these moves during this difficult time. In fact, I was talking to one of my correspondents yesterday, and he mentioned that interesting sort of if you are in the space of being able to be fairly flexible when it comes to location or the type of firm that you want to be a part of.
Yep.
In our industry. Actually, there is quite a lot of jobs now around, Chris, that I'm seeing. And he was saying yesterday, actually, COVID has presented a number of new opportunities that he may well never have thought of before in terms of sort of venturing into. And actually, the headhunters are now pretty active in calling people and seeking people for opportunities. So I think that gives us some good confidence as well, or some strong confidence going into 2021 that things are starting to look up. And as I said last week, there are always good roles around there for good people.
It is, and you just have to open your eyes a little bit more. And I'd just like to say, the reason I'm dressed like this is I did get a call this week from a headhunter, and hence the outfit. I've got to slot in at short notice, so I'm going to be busy over the next week or so.
I think at Dobby's Garden Centre later today.
Yeah, not far wrong, mate. No. I've committed to doing a little grotto, for granddaughters on Christmas Day. So I'm going to be doing the Father Christmas.
Very good. I suspect that's at the bottom of your garden, Chris. If I know you well.
It is, my friend. Yeah.
Very good. I'm sure. It's a pity I'm not there. I would have popped down for my present.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm being presumptuous, but. I'm partial to. What I'm partial to, rather.
Yes, I do. And we better clear it up before people start getting worried. We're talking about Japanese whiskey here. So we don't want to get too near the knuckle. Now,
Indeed.
With reference from Willie and IATA, I've also thought it was nice the way IATA, voiced their opinion with regards to aviation workers as essential for the vaccinations, when they start rolling out from the first and second phases. So I think that's a good shout as well.
It is. Yeah, it is. I think, more of this to come as we saw, was it yesterday or today? I think late hours of last night, the Moderna vaccine being approved in the US by the FDA. So, more, pharma business for the time being is going to explode, and so we need all the guys at IATA and others to keep their hand on the tiller. I suspect, Chris,
yeah.
as the exponential growth just continues, at least for the next 6 to 12 months, I suspect.
Yeah, no, exactly. And something else I've seen, Steve, which is also something that I think has been good in this year, is the way people have genuinely shown how much they care and trying to do things for others. And one bit of news I was looking at yesterday, there's a charity called Aviation Action, and Chris Wilde has been promoting that, and they've been doing these run the runways, to raise money whilst the runways weren't in operation, and they've raised a considerable amount of money now, and they're putting it towards helping people who've got problems from the aviation industry. So fair play to Chris and everybody involved with it.
That's right. I think he's. I think Chris is I don't know what his gig is, but I think it's part of MAG up at Manchester, isn't he? I think that's where he originates, and I think he did that fairly early on in the process. And I was listening to the radio yesterday actually, and they got a mention on the radio station, so that was quite interesting as well.
Yeah, I think.
But anything that people do, I mean, as we've spoken about, in terms of this new sort of care concept, and being kind to one another is going to be all the more critical as we see this very deep winter. We won't come out of this until Easter likely, so end of March, April. Yeah. And so it's going to need a lot of people will need a lot of TLC and support over this period as much as they have done any earlier, if not more. I think going into this winter, this deep winter.
Yeah, and I think they've done so well with their targets. Chris has committed to, if he hits the target that they're expecting, he's going to do his final runway run dressed as Santa. So all I could say, Chris, is make sure you get the right material because it heats up pretty quickly.
You're going for the neoprene latex or something, Chris? The mammal, middle-aged men in lycra, they call it.
Well, yeah, no, I wouldn't go far. I wouldn't go that far, Stephen. I'll show you how I've managed to keep cool in this later on when the show finishes. Now, another one I thought, and what a fantastic name for a new startup, Ego Airways. I thought, what a beautiful name.
Ego. I mean, well, beautiful in the sense of, is it ego or ego or there's a fella. There's certainly not no shortage of ego if it is built around ego, or is it something more Italian or Latin that we a baggage handler from Fife doesn't understand.
Who knows? But I know what I'll be calling it. But what I loved was
not to say that all baggage handlers from Fife wouldn't understand.
Yeah.
But this one specifically.
Yeah, no, but what one of the things I loved was the commitment where they actually say Ego Airways takes care of its guests, giving them the center of a flying experience in which they feel cared for, cuddled, pampered, and special. It aims to create a unique, warm, and full immersive experience where every passenger can feel welcomed in each of the flight classes. I thought that was lovely.
Where do I book?
Yeah, but seriously,
I think we can all do with a bit of pampering right now. I'm not really sure what they're offering on board, but exactly. But I was sort of playing out my homage to a French fisherman who's about to go to war with his president over fish in the North Sea or the English Channel. But you've distracted me. I need to find something Italian now to fit into that into those breeches.
No, but I thought that was fantastic. And the first aircraft they've named Martina. So I'm sure we'll find out, whether that was related to tennis or whatever it was. But I think that's a lovely message, and good luck to them. It's always good to see somebody, especially in these times, brave enough to launch. So brilliant. Now, on the flip side with the aircraft, it's amazing now, but not surprising to see that, the IATA have got concerns, and there's been some issues now with regards to rusty pilots and even insects in the aircraft that have been in storage, and there've been problems with the return into service. Now that's something that most people wouldn't even think of, but my goodness me, there's an opportunity there for people to make sure that's checked out properly.
We do think of that, Chris. We do think of that. I mean, that is something that is at the forefront of mind. I mean, generally, if we're putting aircraft into storage, you look for as dry a climate as possible, with as low as humidity as possible, with no bloody salt water in the air. Meantime, I see 25 British Airways A320s parked up in Palma de Mallorca, which was rather confusing, or down in Bournemouth, which isn't exactly the least humid or least salty air around, next to the Heathrow Airport, next to the sea there. So I have been rather puzzled by some of these decisions. But then again, beggars can't be choosers. At a time where storage facilities are in high demand and short in supply, airlines have had to do what they did, which was to find suitable storage facilities at the best commercial arrangements and get the aircraft into those sort of storage programs as quickly as possible. In this part of the world, we've seen airports like Ayers Rock, Alice Springs, of course, do extremely well, from storage, and of course there's the usual places in Carolina and Victorville in California and these sort of places that also, you know, pretty well from storage. So yeah, no surprise there. I mean, something that the MROs and the and EASA, the type regulators, EASA and the FAA in particular, will have to keep on top of, I suspect.
Exactly. But for me, Steve, the thing with the insects, you know, when I was telling some of the kids, and they were saying, "Oh, Dad, you know, how can there be insects, you know, in part of the avionics and affecting an aircraft?" And that's something that most people wouldn't have thought of.
Well, snakes on a plane. I mean, I've been down in Africa as you have, Chris, and you know, we've had all sorts. We've had snakes on aircraft. We've had rats and mice. I mean, I've had rats in Edinburgh on airplanes. I mean, these are you know, of course there are always checks and balances. Not trying to sort of play it down, accept it as routine. You're right, but that's why, you know, putting aircraft into storage are decisions that are not taken lightly, and airlines didn't do it lightly. Particularly as given, as you just demonstrated, it's difficult to bring them back out of storage, and it's actually bloody expensive as well. So, you know, there have been carriers that have put aircraft into, I think, what they're called flexible storage, you know, sort of arrangements, which meant that they've kept things turning over, so that the restart is slightly easier and probably less complex than it would be if they'd gone into sort of full storage arrangements.
Yeah, exactly. And as ever, the most important thing in our business is safety.
Of course, absolutely. I mean, I take that as you know, people talk about safety being number one. You and I think when we did our very first podcast, for me, it's never been number one. It's always been number zero. It comes before everything that we do. So when you talk about safety as number one, actually,
that was beautiful, son.
No, I'm genuinely, Chris, because actually, you know, a lot of the criticism that we get, sort of, you know, looking for transformation opportunities or cost reduction is, oh, you can't do that flight dispatch, that'd be unsafe, or you can't load control, that's unsafe, or you can't do that with maintenance activity because that might compromise safety. Actually, everything that we do in our business is about safety. So if you are an airline that talks about safety all the time, and lists it as your number one priority, it tells me that something is wrong with the DNA and the fabric of that organization, because actually safety should be before number one. It should be sort of injected into you, in your DNA, as every decision we make, we think about the consequences on operational risk and safety. Every kind of procurement activity we do think, and that's not to say it's number, it should be innate and sort of drilled in, so you don't have to go through, you know, a super extensive checklist. These are the things that should first spring to your mind, and that's why I say it's zero, because it should be innate. If you're an aviation professional, safety management is innate. It doesn't have to be contrived.
Yeah. And funny enough, I remember when you and me were involved in a tender, and we top loaded on all of the criteria, anything to do with safety and security, and that's the way it should be.
Yeah, I think there was once the old guard that would sort of say, Chris, all the low cost carriers or the low cost ground handling models, you know, oh, that's compromising safety, or oh, that's challenging safety. Actually, if you look at a lot of those businesses today, Chris, those are the ones with the better safety out. Old adage, KISS, keep it stupid simple, keep it safe simple, as you wish. And the reality is that delivers generally better safety outcomes. The less people involved in a process, the safer the outcome will be. The more automation you put in a process, the safer the outcome will be. And so that, you know, it just goes to show that actually when you try to sort of complicate things and create a dark art or a dark science or a black art, and, you know, preach that, oh, only licensed people should do that, or only guys with, you know, how many times, Chris, have you seen checklists with, you know, people applying for 20 years experience? As we all know, experience counts for nothing. Skills and competence count for everything. Yeah. So, you know, and let's say, oh, because they need to understand, you know, the impact on safety. I think that's a lot of bollocks, personally. Not quite sure how we got onto safety in our Christmas, an informal Christmas sort of show, but it just goes to show, boom, boom, that it just goes to show that safety is in everything that we do. And I know that Santa Claus, Father Christmas, will be practicing that when he gets down his chimneys and done all his risk assessments and everything to make sure that he's ready to go.
He will.
By the time that sleigh's been away for 364 days, so by the time it comes out again,
he will.
you should make sure
He will.
oils and lubricants are well lubricated and the animals are well fed to pull you along on your journey. You drop off your parcels to your.
Yeah, this is yep. There's another little humorous angle to this particular show, and I thank you again for that, Stephen. Now, 2021, the one thing in 2020, the collaboration has been good, even though the word has been overused and has been referenced far too often. But collaboration has been good. Regulators, for all the complaints and all the hassle that they've had in previous years, they all came into their own this year. And at the end of the day, my goodness me, the industry would be a poorer place without them. So hopefully some of the learning experiences, especially doing things quicker, get rid of that legacy of waste and try and make things happen, which impresses people. That's been pretty good this year. And I think 2021, you mentioned there about automation, autonomous equipment, also digitization. I think what's happened and the pressures of 2021 has been like a decade, and it's removed an awful lot of barriers. So, please God, 2021 will have a lot more efficiencies, a lot more modernization, innovation, recognition of some of the talent that's out there with some of the tools that are available. And also that businesses will stop trying to recreate things themselves. And if something's good and it's off the shelf, take the damn thing, get it in place as quick as possible.
Absolutely. Yeah. Let's hope that that I think the spirit of cooperation and collaboration that we've seen now, Chris, is not depleted as the industry starts to recover. I suspect, and listen to a lot of the forecasts, well, as best you can, I guess. I mean, no forecast that was published has been right, but we will have more of these little blips along this journey of recovery, I suspect.
Yeah. 23,
24. And that spirit of collaboration, cooperation, respect. Somebody said to me earlier today, it's about being kind. And often, thinking that or putting the boot on the other foot, in terms of putting yourself in their shoes and feeling how you would feel in that situation. And I think that's important. Also, just to add to your list, I think being kind is important as well. And I've seen that in some of the supplier customer discussions that we've been party to in recent months, as you well know, and I think that is, there is certainly a degree more or a notch more of respect and kindness between the parties, in terms of the supplier customer relationship.
Yeah.
More work to be done, but certainly under the challenges and difficulties, rather than just the airlines want to extract cost value out of this, whilst very difficult for some of these service businesses to bring staff on, get staff off, switch them on, switch them off, redundancies, retrenchments, etc. And then 10 days after the airline commits to a service, the airline cancels, yet the ground handler or the cargo handler's left with all the bloody staff again.
Yeah.
I mean, so there has to be some really strong and robust conversations about sharing some of the risk, also sharing some of the opportunity that comes along. But I think being kind is helpful in all of that when you're having those discussions, and our colleagues and peers are in those negotiations.
Yeah, no, exactly. You're right, Steve. And also, when people are looking at existing contracts and SLAs and realities, they've got to be a lot more realistic. And again, out of that, hopefully, a modicum of common sense and logic, and again, keeping things simple, will start to materialize. And I think a lot of good is going to come from it, which is the right way. But something you touched on there, and it's something we've spoken about, is about the type of leadership of the future is going to be a lot different from the way it was previously. And some of the people that are holding positions now and stepping up into new positions and learning their trade, they need a lot of help with a different type of leadership model. But more importantly, everybody else has to also understand why somebody has to lead, why somebody has to be a supervisor, why somebody has to be a lead agent, and supporting it, but understanding why that's important. So together it'll be effective, rather than just focusing on one group of people who are the ones who have to be given the position. Everybody has to appreciate that if they want to have they're companies who can keep paying them and keep giving them jobs, that level of sustainability has got to come from everybody. So less waste, less damage, less unnecessary cost. All those areas have to be understood by everybody collectively. And then it'll be a totally different environment. And then it'll be one of caring and understanding and appreciating why.
Absolutely. I think the whole, within any organization, it starts within the team or the squads on the ramp or in the build-up area. It then moves on to this sort of the department, and then moves outside into sort of the broader interrelation into functional teams, and then the company as a whole, or the station as a whole, and then the company organization as a whole. But it's got to be, as you say, there's been some changes at the top. I think that will predicate through or deliver some change throughout some of these organizations that may have been guilty before, Chris, of taking a slightly more, a slightly less balanced approach, if you like, to the balanced scorecard, heavily steered towards, shareholders and profitability, and slightly coming a little bit closer to the center in terms of trying to find that balance or that equilibrium I've spoken about before, about people, employees, about customer. And remembering always fundamentally, I mean, I'm an absolute capitalist at heart. I might not look like one right now, given this get up that I've got on here. And you're there, Father Christmas, as a great philanthropist. Probably the biggest philanthropist in the world, Father Christmas, been at this game for years. Warren Buffett has, you sort of put a good run for his money in the Gates Foundation. But what I would say, Chris, is it is important to come back to the centre and draw on these learnings that I think we've all had through 2020, and use that and apply that properly and fairly as we go into 2021. That would be my summary of that point you just made there. But you're right. It starts at leadership, starts at the top. If you're the wrong behaviours there, it through the entire organisation, and quite frankly, you'll struggle to develop that culture if it doesn't start there.
Yeah, talking about doing things right and caring. One thing that you started talking about right at the beginning was if you treat and look after your customers early, no matter what the disruption or the problems are, they'll remember you. And an organisation that we know well, Cebu, they've maintained their flexible options, for passengers. With regards to their flights extended until the 31st of March, where they can swap them over, or they can leave the funds in a travel fund, which they can keep for 2 years, and they can use that for baggage allowance, preferred seating options, pre-ordered meals or hygiene kits or travel insurance. So that flexibility and that support, that's something that, you endorsed way on very early. And
I said at the beginning, Chris.
Yeah, I hope people will remember that. The organisations that have responded very positively.
Yeah, I think I said in April to you. I think the phrase I used was, "You live by the sword, you die by the sword." Yeah. If the organisations are ready to pull the sword, then they better be aware of the backlash. The backlash, conversely, is that the customers will remember that, and of course they will think twice when booking. I was just discussing with a client the other day. It was exactly this. Actually, it's not the fact that you disrupt the customer. It's everything to do with the resolution. I mean, that is kind of customer service 101. Grew up. I mean, as businesses, we might not like to, but we need to plan for it and build on learnings and experiences to make sure that the problem resolution options available to the customer are quick, generally at the point of the failure. That would be the best point, and are delivered quickly and actually meet the customer's needs. And we've been in this game for long enough to know what that is. It's not terribly complex. And if anybody tells you it is, it's the lying, or they're trying to keep you on the clock for some extra consulting hours. So I do think there's a lot to be said for that. You're absolutely right. Cebu Pacific is a great friend and customer of ours, and they've been known as a fun airline, Chris. They've always been sort of a fun, sort of engaging brand, and I think the team there have done a great job in keeping that engagement across the customer base, and wish them every success as we go into 2021. But you're absolutely right, customer is king in this case. It used to be the phrase "cash is king" is equally important, as we've seen the liquidity squeeze. So, but the balance between the two is extremely important, particularly as we see this week the European Union coming out heavily against European airlines who treated customers, not just European, airlines operating within Europe. Some bad examples in there that we shouldn't name here, but not too far from here. Some bad examples of how not to do it. So I'm glad that they stepped in this case.
Yeah, and hopefully as well, that'll influence the way the new year pans out. Now, Steve, as with all Santa and visits to his grotto, Santa normally says, "And have you been a good little boy, Stephen, this year?" Okay, and I know you have, and thanks for all your support and everything that you've done. They also say, "Did you have a little wish list for Christmas, Stephen?" What would your wish list be for 2021?
I think it's not so much a wish list because it's hope. I've got hope. I am a rather positive person, as you know, and those that work with me know. I'm generally a glass half full kind of guy. Not for
long. You're not. I've been in the bar with you. It empties very quickly, my friend.
That's only when you're paying.
Yeah.
If I'm shouting around, Chris, it takes a little bit longer. I would say this. Look, I just hope that that there is a sustained level of resurgence in the early part of 2021. I really hope that these vaccines, whether people are vaccinated or not, still talk about vaccine cards, vaccine passports. Personally, I think that's the wrong thing, as I've said to you before. I think that is slightly contrarian and not very libertarian, which goes against my personal values. But then again, I do have a yellow fever prophylaxis certificate, so maybe that will be the way forward. But anyway, look, I hope from that, Chris, that we restore confidence, that business starts to recover, that we can re-employ a lot of these people that lost these jobs through no fault of their own.
100%.
And that would be my biggest hope for 2021, is actually to recover as much of the network as we possible. We know it's going to be a slow burn, so it won't be everything, but we can also reinstate as many of those that the businesses require. I'm not saying that there's jobs for everybody. There is clearly not, and that's sad, but that's the reality. Businesses have had to right size, have had to shrink their workforces to stay alive. I do think there'll be some further fallout before the northern summer 21 schedule begins, and therefore I hope that it's as painless as possibly can be, and that some merger and acquisition activity will pick up some of those. So that's my hope for 2021 on a professional level. On a personal level, I'm going to get drunk, be merry, and say piss off to 2020 and enjoy some good family time.
And that's so important. And well done for mentioning all those poor colleagues and people, not just in our industry but everywhere, who've been displaced through no fault of their own, and the pressures and worries they're under now. Please God, 2021 will show some light and some generosity and some opportunity and some good luck, good fortune, and that's what everybody needs. Well done, you. Thanks for that little message. I've got a little one on behalf of both of us for everybody that's listened. A little Father Christmas ditty, or however we want to call it. So to everybody that has listened, thanks for watching our show. And the questions that have been pitched, if not me, then Steve has always been the one who knows. And now, from fear to cheer, we both wish you the very, very best of New Year's. Have a great 2021. Normally Santa says ho, 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 and I do. And in 21, say yes more than you will say no. And the last and final little message: should you fail, then fail having dared greatly, and dare to care in 2021. So look after people, look after yourselves. We wish you a healthy, happy, and as much fun as possible. And whatever you do, do it to the best of your ability to make memories, go crazy, do stupid things, and make as much fun as you can, because that's what life's all about. And good luck in 2021. And Stephen, last big question for you, my friend. You're going to join me in 2021?
Well, you signed me up for I think one or two episodes, and here we are. I've lost track how many we've done now. I've had a thoroughly good time, because I'd echo everything you've said, and I look forward to getting back to you on the, I think it'll be something around the 9th of January. We'll do our first show in the new year. So I'll be there. Will you?
Yeah, 100%, mate. And Steve, to you and your family as well, mate. Have a wonderful, wonderful time. Salem in the background there. You're not forgotten, my friend. You've done a great, sterling job. Thanks very much for your patience and your support. And you know, I know you do this in your own time, and fair play to you. Really, really appreciate it, Salem. As always, he's a man of few words. A man of few words. He makes John Wayne and Johnny Cash look like rapid talkers who can't keep their mouths closed. So Salem, I know you're listening. You've done a brilliant job, my friend. Brilliant. Thank you. So that's it, guys. As we bid farewell to 2020, you know, may 2021 be better for all of us.
Thanks, Chris. Have a great Christmas, and love to you, Kathy, and all the family. I know you've had a busy year, and I know you put a lot of effort into this as well. So from me and all of our listeners to you as well, I know the feedback I see from those that I know and those that I don't know, but externally, is that you do a grand job, and everybody loves your podcast. So well done. You deserve a small single measure of hibiki, Japanese whiskey, to say I'll offer that to you vicariously or virtually just now, but I'll be enjoying it vicariously with you in the season.
And I will gulp it down with great gusto. Thank you, Stephen. All the best.
Cheers, Chris.
Cheers, guys.
Happy Christmas.
And to you.